The morning sun burned hot over the Gobi Desert as Dr. Kim Day wiped sweat from his forehead. He stared at the strange readings on his scanner and shook his head. The numbers made no sense. "Dr. Kim, you need to see this," called Dr. Park Hana from across the dig site. She was kneeling beside a metal detector that would not stop beeping. Day walked over to her, his boots crunching on the dry sand. The desert stretched endlessly in every direction. They had been searching this area for 3 weeks looking for ancient artifacts. So far they had found nothing but rocks and more sand. "What is it?" Day asked. Hana pointed at her screen. "There is something big down there, really big. The metal detector says it goes down at least 50 meters. Lieutenant Lee Sung jogged over to them. He was their team engineer and the only one who understood all their equipment. "Did someone say 50 meters? That is impossible. Nothing that large could be buried here." Day looked at his own scanner again. The energy readings were stronger now. Much stronger. "Lee, can you set up the ground scanner? I want to see what shape this thing is." Lee nodded and ran back to their truck. He returned with a large device that looked like a metal box with antennas. He placed it on the ground and turned it on. The three of them watched as the screen slowly filled with lines and shapes. What they saw made them all step back. "That looks like a ship," Hana whispered. Lee shook his head. "It cannot be a ship. Ships do not bury themselves in deserts." But Day was already thinking. He had studied ancient history for 20 years. He knew about old legends that spoke of metal birds that fell from the sky. Most people thought they were just stories. "We need to dig," Day said. "Dig?" Lee laughed. "Do you know how much sand is on top of that thing? It would take us months. Then we get more help." Day pulled out his satellite phone. "I am calling the university. We need excavation equipment." 2 days later, 5 large trucks arrived. They brought drilling machines, earth movers, and 20 more workers. The dig site turned into a busy camp with tents and generators. Dr. Oh Min joined the team. She was an expert in ancient languages and had flown in from Seoul University. "So, you really think there is a ship down there?" she asked Dee. "The scanners do not lie," Dee replied. "Something metal and very large is buried here. Whether it is a ship or not, we will find out soon." The drilling began at sunrise. The machines worked all day, pulling up load after load of sand and dirt. By evening, they had dug down 15 meters. "Sir, we hit something hard," called one of the workers. Day and his team rushed to the edge of the pit. At the bottom, they could see dark metal gleaming in the artificial lights. "Careful now," Day called down. "Use the small tools. We do not want to damage anything." The workers switched to hand tools and brushes. Slowly, they cleared away the sand. What appeared was not just metal, but metal formed into smooth curves and strange patterns. "Those are symbols," Hana said, staring down at the surface. "I have never seen writing like that before." Dr. Oh Min climbed down into the pit with a camera. She took pictures of every symbol she could find. "These are definitely artificial," she called up. "Someone made this." By the 3rd day, they had uncovered what was clearly a doorway. It was oval-shaped and covered with more symbols. The metal was dark gray and did not look old at all. It looked new. "How is that possible?" Lee asked. "If this thing has been buried for centuries, why does it look like it was made yesterday?" Day had no answer. He climbed down into the pit and placed his hand on the door. The metal felt warm. "That is strange," he said. "Metal buried in sand should be cold." As soon as he spoke, the symbols around the door began to glow with soft blue light. Everyone at the dig site stopped working and stared. "Did anyone else see that?" Hana asked. The glow grew brighter. Then, with a soft hissing sound, the door began to open. "Everyone back away from the pit," Day shouted. But even as he said it, he found himself stepping closer to the opening door. Air flowed out of the doorway. It smelled clean and fresh, not stale like air that had been trapped for centuries. "Dr. Kim, maybe we should wait," Lee called from above. "We do not know what is in there." But Day was already stepping through the doorway. Inside, lights turned On automatically. The hallway was wide and tall, with walls made of the same smooth metal. Everything was clean. There was no dust, no dirt, nothing to show that this place had been abandoned. "Hello?" Day called out. His voice echoed down the hallway. Then a voice answered him. It was soft and musical, and it spoke perfect Korean. Genetic markers confirmed. "Welcome aboard, Admiral Kim Day, descendant of Fleet Admiral Kim Tae-yang. Systems online, awaiting your command." Day froze. "Who is speaking? Where are you?" "I am Harmony, the ship artificial intelligence. You are aboard the exploration vessel Star of Morning. I have been waiting for your return, Admiral." "I am not an admiral," Day said. "I am an archaeologist, and who is Kim Tae-yang?" "Fleet Admiral Kim Tae-yang was your ancestor. He commanded the Terran Space Fleet during the Golden Age of the Confederation. His genetic line carries the authority to command all Terran vessels." Day felt dizzy. "Terran Space Fleet? What are you talking about? Humans have never had a space fleet." "That is incorrect, Admiral. Humanity once ruled an alliance of 47 species across 12 galaxies. You led the greatest civilization the universe has ever known." By now, Hana and Lee had followed him into the ship. They stood behind him, staring at the glowing walls and listening to the impossible conversation. "If humans ruled the galaxy," Hana asked, "where did it all go? Why do we not remember?" "The Great Betrayal occurred 800 years ago," Harmony replied. "Earth was attacked by the Hegemony Alliance. To save humanity, Admiral Kim Tae-yang ordered all records erased and the planet hidden. The population had their memories changed. Earth became a quarantine world." "This is crazy," Lee said. "You are telling us that we forgot we had a galactic empire?" "It was the only way to ensure human survival," Harmony said. "But now the time of hiding is over. The hegemony has found Earth again. They know a Terran command ship has awakened." "How do they know?" Day asked. "Because, Admiral, this ship sent out an identification signal the moment you stepped aboard. Every military force in the galaxy now knows that humanity has returned." Day looked at his friends, then back down the glowing hallway. "How long do we have?" "Hegemony scout ships will arrive in 72 hours, Harmony replied. "Admiral, I recommend we begin awakening the rest of the fleet immediately." "The rest of the fleet?" "Yes, Admiral. Star of Morning is only one of 3,000 Terran vessels hidden on Earth. They are all waiting for your command." Day stood in the command center of the Star of Morning, staring at screens filled with star maps and alien symbols. His head still spun from everything Harmony had told him. Behind him, Dr. Park Hana worked frantically at a control panel, trying to understand the ship's systems. "Show me," Day said to Harmony. "Show me what humanity was before." The room darkened, and suddenly they were surrounded by images that seemed to float in the air. Day saw vast cities floating among the stars, filled with beings from dozens of different worlds. Humans walked alongside creatures with 4 arms, others that looked like walking trees, and some that glowed with their own light. This was Confederation Central, Harmony explained, the heart of the Terran Confederation, 47 different species working together in peace. Hana stopped working and stared at the images. They all looked so happy together. How did humans manage to unite so many different species? "Humans had a gift," Harmony said. "They could see the best in others, even when those others could not see it themselves. Your people did not conquer other worlds. They helped them solve their problems." The images changed to show human diplomats sitting at tables with creatures that looked nothing like them. In one scene, humans were helping 2 alien races work out a trade agreement. In another, human scientists were teaching farming techniques to a species that lived on a desert world. "But why were humans the leaders?" Lee asked. He had been quiet since entering the ship, trying to process everything. "Because leadership was never about giving orders," Harmony replied. True leadership meant helping others become their best selves. Humans were the only species that understood this completely. The scene shifted to show a man in a dark blue uniform standing on the bridge of a massive starship. He had kind eyes and carried himself with quiet confidence. Day felt a strange recognition when he looked at the man. "Fleet Admiral Kim Tae-yang," Harmony said. "Your great-great-grandfather. He commanded not through fear or force, but through trust and understanding. Day studied his ancestor's face. The man looked nothing like a warrior. He looked like a teacher. What happened to him? Day asked. The images around them grew darker. Now they showed battles in space, ships exploding, planets burning. The hegemony was formed by species that felt left out, Harmony explained. They were jealous of the peace the Confederation had found. They believed that some species were naturally superior to others. The idea that all species could work together as equals made them angry. So they started a war? Hana asked. The largest war in galactic history, Harmony confirmed. It lasted 50 years. The hegemony had powerful weapons, but the Confederation had something stronger: unity. The images showed incredible scenes of different alien species fighting, side by side, to protect each other. Day watched as creatures that should have been natural enemies worked together to save Confederation worlds. For most of the war, the Confederation was winning. Harmony continued, but then the hegemony created something terrible. A weapon that could destroy entire solar systems. The scene showed a beautiful blue planet suddenly turning to dust and floating away into space. They destroyed New Earth, Harmony said quietly. 1 million humans and 3 million aliens died in seconds. Lee sat down heavily in a chair. 1 million people. Admiral Taeyang knew the hegemony would not stop until every Confederation world was destroyed, Harmony continued. So he made the hardest decision of his life. The images showed Admiral Taeyang standing before a huge assembly of aliens and humans. Tears ran down his face as he spoke. He ordered the Great Hiding, Harmony explained. All human colonies were evacuated to secret locations. Earth itself was surrounded by a cloaking field that made it invisible to long-range sensors. Then every human on the planet had their memories changed. Changed how? Day asked. Advanced neural adjustment. Everyone forgot about the Confederation, the other species, the war, everything. Earth's history was rewritten to make humans believe they had never left their home planet. Hana shook her head. That is impossible. You cannot just erase the memories of an entire planet. It took the combined technology of all 47 species, Harmony said. And it worked. The hegemony searched for Earth for centuries but could never find it. Eventually they declared humanity extinct. The images faded, leaving them in the normal lighting of the command center. Day felt overwhelmed. His whole understanding of human history was wrong. But if Earth was hidden, how do they know about us now? He asked. Because this ship's awakening sent out an automatic signal, Harmony replied. All Terran vessels are programmed to announce when they come online. The signal cannot be stopped or hidden. How long until they get here? Hegemony scout ships will arrive in 68 hours. Lee stood up suddenly. Wait, you said there are 3,000 ships hidden on Earth. Where are they? Buried around the planet, just like this one. They have been waiting 800 years for a member of Admiral Taeyang's family to wake them up. Can you contact them? Day asked. Yes, Admiral, but they will only respond to your direct command. Day looked at his friends. Hana was studying the alien symbols on the walls. Lee was examining the advanced technology. Both of them looked as confused as he felt. I do not know how to command a space fleet, Day said. The knowledge is in your genes, Admiral, Harmony replied. Your ancestors' tactical understanding was passed down through your family line. When the time comes, you will know what to do. What if you are wrong? What if I cannot do this? Then humanity will remain hidden forever, and the hegemony will eventually find and destroy Earth anyway. Day walked to the main view screen, which showed the desert above them. Somewhere up there, his dig team was still working, not knowing that the world had changed forever. Admiral, Harmony said gently, there is something else you should know. The human colonies that were evacuated during the Great Hiding are still out there. They have been waiting 800 years for someone from Earth to contact them. They are still alive? Yes, and they have been preparing for this day. They know the hegemony will eventually find Earth. They are ready to fight. Day took a deep breath. He thought about his quiet life as an archaeologist, digging up old pottery and ancient tools. Now he was being asked to lead a war between the stars. How many people are we talking about? He asked. Approximately 200 million humans scattered across 50 hidden colonies. 200 million people who think Earth was destroyed? Yes, Admiral. They will be very surprised to hear from you. Day closed his eyes and tried to think. When he opened them again, he saw Hannah and Lee watching him with worried expressions. Admiral, Harmony said, I must recommend that we begin waking the other ships immediately. The hegemony scouts will be here soon and we need to be ready. Day nodded slowly. How do we wake them up? You simply give the order. All Terran vessels are connected through quantum communication. They will hear you instantly, no matter where. On Earth, they are buried. Day looked around the command center one more time. Then he walked to what looked like a captain's chair and sat down. Wake them up, he said. Wake up all the ships. This is Admiral Kim Day, and I am taking command of the Terran fleet. The moment Day spoke the words, he felt something change inside his mind. It was as if a door had opened in his brain, and suddenly he understood things he had never learned. He knew how the ship's weapons worked, how to read the star charts, how to command a fleet. Fleet activation confirmed, Harmony announced. 2,943 vessels responding. Admiral, the Terran fleet is at your command. Around the world, ancient ships were rising from their hiding places. In the Amazon jungle, trees fell as a massive warship pushed through the earth. Under the Sahara Desert, sand dunes collapsed as fighters broke free. In the deep ocean near Japan, submarines watched in amazement as ships larger than cities emerged from the seafloor. Admiral, Hannah said, staring at the screens that now showed locations all over Earth. People are going to see these ships. How do we explain this to the world? Day was surprised to find he already knew the answer. We tell them the truth. Humanity is no longer alone in the universe, and we need to be ready to defend ourselves. Lee was working at another control panel. Admiral, I am reading massive energy signatures from around the planet. These ships are powering up their weapons. Good, Day said, though he was surprised by his own confidence. Harmony, send a message to all world governments. Tell them that first contact with alien species is about to happen, and it will not. Be friendly. Message sent, Admiral. Now connect me to the human colonies. It is time to let them know that Earth still exists. The main screen flickered, and suddenly Day was looking at a man in a military uniform. The man had graying hair and tired eyes, and he was staring at Day with complete shock. This is Commander Park Woo of the Kepler Station Defense Force, the man said slowly. Are you really calling from Earth? Yes, Commander. This is Admiral Kim Day. I am Fleet Admiral Taiyang's descendant, and I have awakened the Terran fleet. Park A. Wu sat down heavily. Admiral, we thought Earth was destroyed 800 years ago. We have been hiding in the outer systems, waiting for the day we could return home. How many of you are there? Day asked. 200 million humans across 50 colonies, Park Wu replied. We have been preparing for this day our whole lives. Our parents told us stories about Earth, about the blue skies and the green forests. We never thought we would see it again. More screens activated around the command center. Faces appeared from across the galaxy, human faces with hope and tears in their eyes. They were calling from mining stations on asteroids, from farming, worlds in distant solar systems, from research bases orbiting strange stars. Admiral, said a woman from one of the screens, this is Captain Yu Moran of the exploration ship New Dawn. Our sensors show hegemony ships moving toward Earth. They will arrive in less than 60 hours. How many ships? Day asked, and again he was surprised that he knew how to ask the right questions. At least 12 battlecruisers and 50 fighter escorts, Captain Yu replied. Admiral, that is more firepower than most planets have ever seen. But we have something they do not expect, Day said. We have 3,000 ships that have been hiding for 800 years. They think humanity is weak and scattered. They are about to learn how wrong they are. The screens around him showed ship captains from across the hidden human colonies. They all looked ready to fight. Admiral, Commander Park Woo said, our ships have been upgraded over the centuries. We have weapons and defenses the hegemony has never seen. We are ready to return to Earth and stand with you. How long will it take your ships to get here? The fastest ships can reach Earth in 48 hours, Captain Yu replied. But Admiral, we do not have enough ships to fight the entire hegemony fleet if they decide to send reinforcements. Day nodded. Something in his inherited memory told him that this first battle would be crucial. If they lost, the hegemony would know that humanity was still weak. If they won, word would spread across the galaxy that humans had returned. We are not going to fight them with numbers, Day said. We are going to fight them with intelligence. What do you mean, Admiral? Asked another captain. Harmony show. Me the hegemony battle formations, Day ordered. The screens filled with tactical displays showing how hegemony fleets attacked planets. Day studied the patterns and his enhanced mind began to see weaknesses. They always attack the same way, he said. They form a line and pound the planet with heavy weapons until the defenses break. They expect their enemies to fight back the same way. So we do not fight them the same way, Hana said. She had been listening quietly, but now Dai could see that she understood. Exactly. Lee, can this ship's manufacturing systems create smaller vessels? Lee checked his control panel. Yes, Admiral. We can build fighters, scouts, and assault boats. The ship can make about 50 small craft per hour. Perfect. Commander Park, Captain Yu, I want all your fastest ships to come to Earth immediately. But do not approach directly. Hide in the asteroid belt and wait for my signal. What about the bigger ships? Commander Park asked. Keep them hidden until the battle starts. I want the hegemony to think they are only fighting Earth's defenses. Over. The next day, Day watched as his plan came together. The human colonies sent their fastest ships racing toward Earth. Meanwhile, the Terran vessels hidden on Earth began manufacturing thousands of small fighters. Dr. Oh Min had joined them on the ship and was working to decode more of the ship's systems. Admiral, she said, I found something interesting in the historical records. During the Confederation era, humans were famous for turning their enemies' strengths against them. What do you mean? Look at this battle report, she said, showing him a display. A single human commander defeated a hegemony fleet 3 times larger by making them angry enough to break their formation. Day studied the report. Admiral Taeyang had sent small ships to harass the enemy fleet, making them chase the smaller ships into an asteroid field where the big hegemony vessels could not maneuver properly. Harmony, Day said. Do we have any asteroid fields near Earth? Yes, Admiral. The belt between Mars and Jupiter contains millions of asteroids. Perfect. Can our ships maneuver through that field? Terran vessels are designed for complex navigation. Hegemony ships are built for straightforward assault. Day smiled. For the first time since this all started, he felt confident about their chances. Admiral, Lee announced, I am detecting ships dropping out of hyperspace at the edge of the solar system. 3 large vessels and about 20 smaller ones. Smaller than expected, Day said. They are probably a scouting force. The main screen showed the approaching ships. They were dark and angular, built purely for war. As Day watched them move toward Earth, he felt his inherited memories stir. These were the ships that had destroyed New Earth and forced humanity into hiding. All ships, this is Admiral Kim Day, he announced on the fleet communication channel. The enemy has arrived. Remember, we are not just fighting for Earth. We are fighting for the idea that different species can work together in peace. Today, we show the galaxy that humanity has returned. From hidden positions around the solar system, 3,000 human voices responded as one. Ready to serve, Admiral? The first battle lasted only 6 hours, but it changed everything. Day had used the asteroid belt exactly as his inherited memories suggested. When the hegemony scouts attacked Earth, they found only a few defenders that seemed to retreat in panic. The enemy ships followed, confident in their easy victory. They flew straight into a trap. Hidden in the asteroids, 300 human ships opened fire at once. The hegemony vessels, built for straight-line attacks, could not turn quickly enough in the rocky field. Within minutes, 2 of their large ships were destroyed and the rest were fleeing back to hegemony space. Admiral, Harmony announced, long-range sensors show the surviving ships have jumped to hyperspace. They are heading home to report. Day sat in his command chair, still amazed at how naturally the tactical knowledge had come to him during the battle. It was as if Admiral Taeyang himself had been guiding his decisions. How long before they come back with a larger fleet, he asked. Based on hegemony response patterns, approximately 2 weeks. Then we have 2 weeks to prepare, Day said, and to reunite with our people. Over the next few days, ships began arriving from the hidden human colonies. Day stood on the observation deck of the Star of Morning, watching as vessels of strange and beautiful designs approached Earth. The first to arrive was Commander Park Woo's ship from Kepler Station. It was long and sleek, built for deep space exploration. When Park Woo came aboard the Star of Morning, he walked straight to the observation windows and stared at Earth with tears in his eyes. "I never thought I would see it again," he whispered. "My grandmother told me stories about blue oceans and white clouds, but I thought they were just dreams." "Your people have been gone for 800 years, Day said. "What has it been like?" "Hard," Park Woo replied. "We have been living on mining stations and research bases, always hiding, always afraid the hegemony would find us, but we never gave up hope that someday we could come home." The next ship to arrive was even stranger. It looked like it was grown rather than built, with smooth curves and a surface that seemed to breathe. Captain Kim Nara came aboard and explained that her people had learned to work with living technology. "We settled on a world with intelligent plants," she said. "They taught us how to grow ships instead of building them. Our vessels can heal themselves and adapt to different situations. And they are fast," Lee added, studying the readings from her ship. "Faster than anything in our historical records. More ships arrived every day. There were vessels from the mining colonies of the outer planets, their hulls reinforced to work in the crushing depths of gas giant atmospheres. Ships from agricultural worlds came with the ability to grow food during long voyages. Research vessels arrived with new weapons that could turn enemy attacks back on themselves. But the most surprising arrival came from a ship that looked like it was made of crystal. "Admiral," the captain said when she came aboard. Her name was Dr. Lee Yuna, and she commanded a science vessel called the Bright Star. "My people have been living near the galactic core, studying ancient alien ruins. We found something you need to know about." She led Day to a meeting room, where she displayed images of vast cities on distant worlds. "These are Confederation ruins," she explained. "But they are not all dead. Some of the alien species that fought alongside humanity are still out there. They have been waiting for humans to return." "Waiting for us?" Hana asked. "After 800 years?" "Many of the species that joined the Confederation did so because humans helped them solve problems they could not solve alone. When humanity disappeared, they went back to struggling with those same problems." Dr. Lee Yuna showed them images of different alien worlds. Some were covered in endless storms. Others were locked in civil wars. A few were slowly dying as their suns grew dim. "But here is the important part," she continued. "When we made contact with some of these species, they told us something incredible. The hegemony is not as strong as it once was." "What do you mean?" Day asked. "The hegemony was held together by shared hatred of the Confederation. With humanity gone, they started fighting among themselves. Many of their member species are unhappy and looking for a way out." Dr. Kim Nara leaned forward. "Are you saying some of them might join us?" "More than that," Dr. Lee Yuna replied. "Some of them never wanted to fight humanity in the first place. They were forced to join the hegemony because they had no other choice." Day felt his tactical mind working on this new information. "How many species are we talking about?" "At least 15 that we know of. Maybe more. 15 species that might switch sides if they knew humanity had returned?" "Yes, Admiral. But there is a problem. The core hegemony species will never give up. They believe that some species are naturally superior to others, and the idea of equality makes them furious. If they think they are losing control, they might use their planet killer weapon again." The room went quiet. Everyone knew about the weapon that had destroyed New Earth. "Do they still have it?" Day asked. "Our intelligence suggests yes. It is kept at their main military base in the Vega system." Day stood and walked to the window. Outside, he could see dozens of human ships from across the galaxy. all gathered around their homeworld for the first time in centuries. "Admiral," Commander Park Woo said, "what are you thinking?" "I am thinking that we cannot win this war by fighting," Day replied. "The hegemony has too many ships and too many worlds, but maybe we do not need to fight them all." "What do you mean?" Day turned, back to face the group. "What if we could convince the unhappy hegemony species to leave their alliance? What if we could show them that the Confederation way still works?" "How?" Dr. Lee Yuna asked. "By doing what humans do best, by helping them solve their problems." Over the next week, Day worked with his captains to develop a new strategy. Instead of preparing for a large battle, they would send small groups of ships to make contact with the unhappy hegemony species. Captain Kim Nara took her bioship to contact a species whose world was dying from pollution. Her living technology could clean their air and water in ways they had never imagined. Commander Park Woo led a mining fleet to help a species whose asteroids had been strip-mined by the core hegemony worlds. His people knew how to find resources, in places others thought were empty. Dr. Lee Yuna went to meet with a species of natural scientists who had been forced to work on weapons instead of exploring the universe. She brought them new discoveries that could advance their research by centuries. "Admiral," Harmony reported after the first contact missions began, "we are receiving positive responses from 6 different species. They are interested in hearing more about Confederation membership. Any word from the hegemony core worlds?" Long-range sensors show a large fleet gathering in the Vega system. At least 200 ships, including their flagship. Day nodded. The enemy was preparing for a massive assault on Earth, but now humanity would not be fighting alone. "How long until they arrive?" 4 days, Admiral. "Then we have 4 days to convince as many species as possible to switch sides," Day said. "Send messages to every species that was part of the original Confederation. Tell them humanity has returned, and we remember our friends." "Admiral," Dr. Kim Nara's voice came over the communication system from her distant mission. "You need to hear this. The species we are helping, the ones with the polluted world, they just told me something incredible." "What is it, Captain?" "They know where the hegemony is keeping their planet killer weapon, and more importantly, they know how to destroy it." The information Captain Kim Nara sent back changed everything. The alien species she was helping, called the Cleaners, had been forced to maintain the hegemony's planet killer weapon for centuries. They knew exactly how it worked, and more importantly, how to stop it. "Admiral," the Cleaner representative said through the communication link, "the weapon draws its power from a chain reaction between 3 space stations. If you can disrupt even one station, the whole system fails." Day studied the technical data they had provided. "How heavily defended are these stations?" "Very heavily. But Admiral, there is something else you should know. Many of us who work on the weapon have been secretly sabotaging it for years. We built hidden flaws into the system. If someone attacks at exactly the right moment, the weapon will destroy itself instead of its target." "Why are you helping us?" The Cleaner was quiet for a moment. "Because 800 years ago, humans saved our world from a plague that was killing our people. We never forgot that kindness. When the hegemony forced us to join them, we have been waiting for the day we could repay our debt." Day felt a surge of emotion. Even after all these centuries, the bonds of the old Confederation still held. "Can you get us the timing data we need?" "Yes, Admiral. But you must understand, if we are discovered, the hegemony will destroy our entire world in punishment." "Then we make sure you are not discovered," Day replied. Over the next 2 days, more alien species began switching sides. The agricultural world that Captain Yu Moran was helping decided to join the new Confederation. A species of natural engineers offered to upgrade human ship designs. Even some of the smaller hegemony military units began sending secret messages offering to defect. But the core hegemony worlds were mobilizing everything they had. "Admiral," Harmony reported. "Long range. Sensors show the main hegemony fleet is moving toward Earth. 250 ships, including their command vessel. They will arrive in 36 hours. And our forces? We have 112 human ships plus 43 vessels from the new allied species. We are still outnumbered more than 2-1. Day sat in his command chair, thinking. Around him, his staff worked to coordinate the defense of Earth. But he knew that winning this battle would not be enough. Even if they defeated this fleet, the hegemony would keep sending larger and larger forces until Earth was destroyed. "Harmony," he said. "I need to talk to the hegemony commander directly." "Admiral, that could be dangerous. If they can track the signal, they might target this ship specifically." "Do it anyway." The main screen flickered and suddenly Day was looking at the bridge of a hegemony warship. The commander was a tall, thin alien with 4 arms and glowing red eyes. When he saw Day, his expression filled with hatred. "So," the alien hissed, "the human plague has returned to infect the galaxy." "I am Admiral Kim Day of the Terran Fleet," Day replied calmly. "I want to offer you a chance to surrender." The hegemony commander laughed, a sound like grinding metal. "Surrender? You have barely 100 ships. We have more than twice that number." "Numbers are not everything," Day said. "Your own allies are abandoning you. 6 species have already joined the new confederation and more are switching sides every day. Weak species that were never worthy of the hegemony anyway." The commander spat. "We are better off without them." "That is where you are wrong," Day replied. "Every species has something valuable to offer. The old confederation was strong because we worked together, each contributing our unique gifts. The strong should rule the weak," the commander said. "That is the natural order. Your confederation was a disease that tried to make everyone equal, when clearly some species are superior to others." "And which species do you think is superior?" Day asked. "The hegemony core races, obviously. We are stronger, more intelligent, more worthy of ruling the galaxy. If you are so superior, why are you afraid of a fair fight?" The commander's eyes blazed brighter. "We are not afraid of anything." "Then why do you need a planet killer weapon? If you are truly superior, you should be able to defeat us with regular ships. We use whatever weapons are necessary to maintain order." Day could see that the alien was getting angrier. That was exactly what he wanted. "You know what I think?" Day said. "I think you are afraid that if species are allowed to choose freely, they will not choose you. I think you know that the only way you can keep your empire together is through fear. You know nothing, human. I know that 6 of your allies have already abandoned you today. How many more will leave before this battle is over?" The commander was furious now. "We will show you what happens to species that defy the hegemony. We will burn your pathetic planet to ash." "Try it," Day said calmly and cut the communication. "Admiral," Lee asked, "why did you make him so angry?" "Because angry commanders make mistakes," Day replied. "Harmony, did you record that conversation?" "Yes, Admiral." "Good. Send copies to every species in the Hegemony Alliance. Let them hear how their leaders really think about them." Over the next day, the effect was dramatic. More species began defecting from the hegemony. Some sent messages of support. Others offered intelligence about hegemony battle plans. A few even sent ships to help defend Earth. But the most important message came from deep inside hegemony space. "Admiral," a voice said over the communication system, "this is Commander Zek of the Hegemony 3rd Fleet. My species was conquered by the core worlds 50 years ago. We have been forced to fight in their wars ever since." "What do you need, Commander?" Day asked. "We want to be free. Our homeworld is being held hostage to ensure our loyalty. If we help you in this battle, can the new Confederation help us liberate our people?" "If you help us stop the hegemony, we will help you free your world," Day promised. "Then you have our support. 12 ships of the 3rd Fleet will switch sides when the battle begins." By the time the hegemony fleet arrived at Earth, everything had changed. What had started as 250 ships against 100 had become 180 ships against 160. "Admiral," Harmony announced, "the enemy fleet is dropping out of hyperspace." Day stood and walked to the main view screen. The hegemony ships were massive and dark, built purely for destruction. But they were no longer united. The ships from species that had switched sides were holding back, clearly reluctant to fight. "Open a channel to all ships, both enemy and allied," Day commanded. "Channel open, Admiral. This is Admiral Kim Day of the Terran Confederation. 800 years ago, our two civilizations fought a war that brought suffering to the entire galaxy. Today we have a chance to end that war once and for all. He paused, looking at the enemy fleet. To the species that are being forced to fight against their will, I offer you freedom. Join the Confederation and help us build a galaxy where every species can contribute their gifts without fear. To the core hegemony worlds, I offer you peace. Stop trying to rule others and accept your place as equals among the stars. And to all species watching this broadcast across the galaxy, I offer you hope. The age of fear is ending. The Confederation has returned, and we will never abandon our friends again. The response was immediate. 20 more ships from the hegemony fleet powered down their weapons and moved away from the battle formation. The hegemony commander's voice crackled over the communication system. Traitors. All of you are traitors. We will destroy you all. But Day could hear the desperation in the alien's voice. The hegemony was falling apart, and its leaders knew it. All Confederation forces, Day announced, prepare for battle. But, remember, we fight not to destroy our enemies, but to free them from leaders who see them as expendable. The battle for Earth was about to begin, but Day knew that win or lose, they had already achieved something more important. They had shown the galaxy that there was an alternative to rule by fear. The age of the Confederation was beginning again. The final battle lasted 3 hours, but the real victory had already been won. As soon as the shooting started, more hegemony ships switched sides. Species that had been forced to fight for centuries suddenly found themselves free to make their own choices. They chose peace. The hegemony core fleet, reduced to less than 60 ships, fought desperately, but they were surrounded by former allies who now fought against them. More importantly, they were led by commanders who had spent so long ruling, through fear that they had forgotten how to inspire loyalty. Admiral, Commander Park Wu reported from his ship. The hegemony command vessel is trying to retreat. Let them go, Day replied. But make sure they know they are no longer welcome in any system that values freedom. The retreat of the core hegemony forces marked the end of 800 years of galactic oppression. But for Day, the real work was just beginning. In the weeks that followed, representatives from dozens of species arrived at Earth. Some came to rejoin the Confederation they had once known. Others came seeking help with problems that had plagued their worlds for centuries. Dr. Park Hana had become the chief translator for the new Confederation. She worked day and night to help different species communicate with each other. Admiral, she said one morning, we have a problem. The Vorthan people and the Crystal Singers both want to join the Confederation, but they have been at war with each other for 50 years. What are they fighting about? Day asked. A trade dispute that got out of hand. Each side thinks the other cheated them. Day smiled. This was exactly the kind of problem humans were good at solving. Bring both sides to the negotiation room. Let us see if we can find a solution that works for everyone. The meeting took 6 hours, but by the end, both species had agreed to a new trade arrangement that was better than their original deal. More importantly, they had learned that working together was more profitable than fighting. How did you do that? Asked the Vorthan representative. Simple, Day replied. I listened to what you both really wanted, not just what you said you wanted. You both wanted fair trade and respect for your cultures. Once we focused on those goals, finding a solution was easy. Similar meetings happened every day. The agricultural specialists from New Jeju helped desert worlds learn to grow food in harsh conditions. The mining experts from the outer colonies showed others how to extract resources without destroying their environments. The scientists from the research stations shared discoveries that solved problems other species had struggled with for generations. But the most important development came from an unexpected source. Admiral, Dr. Lee Yuna announced during one of their daily briefings, we have made contact with a group called the Seekers. They have been searching the galaxy for traces of the old Confederation for 800 years. Who are they? Representatives from 12 different species that were part of the original Confederation. When humanity disappeared, they refused to give up hope. They have been secretly preserving Confederation technology and culture, waiting for the day we would return. The meeting with the Seekers took place on a space station near Jupiter. Day found himself face to face with beings he recognized from Harmony's historical records. They were older now, and their civilizations bore the scars of centuries under hegemony rule, but their eyes still held the hope that had sustained them through the dark years. Admiral Kim Day, said the leader of the Seekers, an ancient being that looked like a walking tree, we never stopped believing that humanity would return. Even when others said it was impossible, we knew that the species that had united the galaxy could not truly be destroyed. What have you been doing all this time? Day asked. Keeping the dream alive. We secretly taught our children about the Confederation values. We preserved the languages and customs of species that the hegemony tried to erase. We hid copies of scientific discoveries and cultural treasures in places the hegemony could never find, the tree being gestured to the other Seekers. Each of us represents millions of beings who have been waiting for this day. We are ready to rebuild the Confederation, stronger than it was before. Over the following months, the new Confederation grew rapidly. 50 species joined in the first year. Within 2 years, that number had doubled. But this was not the same organization that had existed 800 years ago. The difference, Dr. Kim Nara explained to a gathering of new members, is that this time we know how fragile peace can be. We are not just building an alliance. We are building a family. The new Confederation established unity stations throughout the galaxy. These were not military bases, but centers of learning and cooperation. Any species could send representatives to learn from others and share their own knowledge. Lieutenant Lee Sung, now promoted to Chief Engineer of the Confederation fleet, oversaw the construction of ships that were marvels of cooperative design. Each vessel incorporated technology and ideas from dozens of different species, creating ships that were more advanced than anything ever built before. The secret, Lee explained to a group of young engineers from various worlds, is that every species thinks differently. When you combine those different ways of thinking, you can solve problems that no single species could handle alone. Dr. Oh Min had become the head of the Confederation Cultural Exchange Program. Her job was to help species learn about each other in ways that went beyond simple communication. Understanding is more than just translating words, she told a mixed group of aliens and humans. It means learning to see the universe through someone else's eyes. But perhaps the most important change was in how leadership worked in the new Confederation. Admiral Kim Day had not become an emperor or a supreme commander. Instead, he had become something more valuable, a teacher. His job was not to give orders, but to help others discover their own potential for leadership. Every species has something unique to offer, he explained to a gathering of young leaders from across the galaxy. My job is not to tell you what to do. It is to help you figure out what you can do that no one else can. The former hegemony, core worlds had mostly retreated to their home systems, still bitter about their loss of power. But even some of them were beginning to change. Cut off from the resources they had taken from conquered worlds, they were learning that cooperation was more sustainable than domination. Admiral, Harmony reported one day, we are receiving a transmission from the hegemony home system. They are requesting humanitarian aid. Their agricultural systems are failing. What kind of aid do they need? Food supplies and farming experts. Ironically, they need exactly the kind of help that the agricultural worlds they once conquered are now offering to others. Day thought for a moment. Send them the aid, but make it clear that it comes with no strings attached. Maybe if they see how cooperation works, they will begin to understand. Admiral, Dr. Parkhana said, are you sure that is wise? They tried to destroy us. That is exactly why we need to help them, Day replied. If we only help our friends, we are no better than they were. True strength means helping even those who have hurt you. The aid mission to the former hegemony worlds was led by Captain Yu Moran, now commanding a ship crewed by volunteers from a dozen different species. When they arrived, they found worlds struggling to feed their populations without the resources they had stolen from others. Why are you helping us? Asked the local commander, clearly suspicious of their motives. Because that is what we do. Captain Yu replied simply. We help anyone who needs it. It took time, But eventually, some of the hegemony worlds began to understand. They started sending their own aid to struggling systems. A few even applied to join the Confederation. Years passed. The galaxy became a more peaceful place. Trade routes that had been closed for centuries reopened. Scientific discoveries were shared freely between species. Art and culture flourished as different civilizations learned from each other. Standing on the bridge of the Star of Morning, now orbiting a peaceful Earth surrounded by ships from hundreds of different worlds, Admiral Day reflected on how much had changed. "Admiral," Harmony said, "we are receiving a priority transmission from Captain Kim Ara of the exploration vessel New Hope." Captain Kim Ara was Day's niece, one of the new generation of leaders who had grown up in the restored Confederation. Her ship was exploring the very edge of known space, looking for new worlds and new species to welcome into their growing family. "What does she need, Harmony?" "She says she has made contact with signals from another galaxy entirely. The Andromeda galaxy. The beings there are asking for help with a crisis that threatens their entire civilization." Day smiled. This was exactly the kind of challenge that the new Confederation existed to meet. "Open a channel to all Confederation worlds," he said. "Channel open, Admiral." "This is Admiral Kim Day. We have just learned that beings in the Andromeda galaxy need our help. As always, the Confederation's response to those in need is simple. We will be there." He paused, looking out at the stars that now held not enemies, but potential friends. "To any species ready to carry the message of cooperation and understanding to new worlds, report to staging areas for the Andromeda mission. Let us go show another galaxy what we can accomplish when we work together." The response was immediate. Hundreds of ships from dozens of worlds began moving toward the staging areas. Humans and aliens working side by side, just as it should be. "Admiral," Dr. Park Hanna said, joining him at the observation window, "do you think we can really help an entire other galaxy?" Day thought about his ancestor, Admiral Kim Tae-yang, and the choice he had made to hide humanity rather than see them destroyed. That choice had seemed like a defeat at the time, but it had actually been the foundation of an even greater victory. "I think," Day said, "that helping others is what makes us human. And now that the rest of the galaxy understands that, there is no limit to what we can accomplish together." Outside the window, ships from 100 worlds formed up for the journey to Andromeda. At the head of the formation, Captain Kim Ara's ship New Hope pointed toward distant stars, ready to carry the message of the Confederation to whatever challenges awaited. The age of the Confederation had truly begun again, and this time, it would never end.